Hey everybody, welcome back to Test Don't Guess Tuesday. I'm Melissa Hawklapacki, your functional gut health expert. Every week I'm here on Tuesdays reading GI map tests. The GI map test is an ePCR test that's looking for DNA fragments of bacteria, right? We're looking for the bad bacteria, we're looking for the good bacteria, and we're looking for some digestive factors. Each week I'm here with a client case study, and I will show you their results, how I read them, and then talk a little bit about what their protocol looked like to heal their guts. So I want to start with an older gentleman who is a client of mine. He's in his mid-80s. He came to me with a very wide variety of symptoms that were extraneous to constipation. So while he was having constipation, and that's what he wanted to work on together with me, a couple of other symptoms that he had. One, he had very, very poor sleep. He barely slept. He was up usually from about 2 in the morning till 5 in the morning, taking naps during the day, was very tired, couldn't seem to regulate his sleep. That was a big problem. He also had never attempted a parasite cleanse, and that's something that we did together with him after we cleared up some of the gut bugs that I'm going to show you that we found, but had a lot of parasite symptoms. So a couple of those look like he had chronic eczema. He also had other weird rashes that he would get from time to time that he couldn't put his finger on. Was it a food that he ate? Was it an environmental toxin? He never really knew, but he would just get weird outbreaks of rashes. Teeth grinding, along with not sleeping at night. He had some TMJ and jaw pain. And he was relatively older. He was in relatively good health, didn't take many medications. I think he was on one medication for his heart. And what else can I tell you about him? He was just a lovely fellow. And really was struggling with constipation, and at 85 did not want to be struggling with constipation any longer. So we went to work. First thing we did was we ordered the GI gut map test that comes to your house in a nice little box, and you poop it basically into a container and send it right back to the lab. And they do their magic there and give us this beautiful 4-page GI map report that tells us all about the inner workings of the GI microbiome. So without further ado, let's take a look at his GI map. I'll show you what we found and talk about what we did to help him feel better. Okay, here's the first page of his GI map test. If anyone has seen me talk about the GI map test before, you'll remember that this very first page that shows these pathogens is what I see when people have either intermittent diarrhea with constipation or just all diarrhea. A lot of these bugs are the kind you're going to pick up when you're traveling, when you're eating and drinking iffy, sketchy foods. The parasitic pathogens as well, and then the viral pathogens just tell us if maybe, if someone's coming to you after an acute case of, for instance, a norovirus, that would be picked up with this test. So you can see that his this first page was completely normal. And how do we know that? Again, the results column in the center is his results, and the reference range on the right is what they want this number, the results number, to be below in order to be considered not positive. Okay, so here, all of his results on this page were below the detectable limit, DL standing for detectable limit, and so we are good to move to the next page. Okay, here's where we're going to spend a bit of time. You'll see this is page 2. And it's lit up, right? All of these high levels. Let's start at the top, dysbiotic and overgrowth bacteria. You'll see that Enterococcus is relatively high, Pseudomonas, staph, and strep. So we know that there is already an overgrowth situation here, right? These are all commonly overgrowing bacteria. When we've got dysbiosis, the numbers are relatively high. You'll see down at the bottom, the Streptococcus being the highest at 8.07 e to the 3, and the reference range needs to be below 1. So that one is the highest. You'll see even some commensal and overgrowth microbes in the second section. You'll note that these two are creeping higher, not enough to alert a red flag, but also high. Inflammatory and autoimmune related bacteria, we always pay attention to these guys. We know that the longer these are lingering, the more damage they are causing, and that they are actually responsible for high levels of inflammation and autoimmune diseases. Okay, here at the top, you'll see Citrobacter really high. We know that that left unchecked can result in some rheumatoid arthritis, and the Klebsiella also very high here. We know that that unchecked sometimes looks like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, or can actually cause skin flares like psoriatic arthritis. I would be more concerned with that for him, knowing that there's a history of eczema. So that was one that we definitely wanted to wipe out. And in the next section, commensal inflammatory and autoimmune related bacteria, that section, you'll see that the Enterobacter here is also high. So we definitely would want to do something to bring all of these levels down, right? I do a little bit of cross-checking between, for instance, what would be the highest? The Streptococcus, which was really high, and that Enterobacter is really high. I think the Citrobacter is the one I'm most concerned about. So I would like to focus on something that's going to really target those guys, and most likely will have a fallout against the other bacteria there. Fungus and yeast, none noted, and at the bottom, cytomegalovirus and Epstein-Barr virus negative as well. Stomach acidity, it slows down your motility and will lead to eventual constipation in most of my clients. That's what I'm finding. Also can lead problems the other way with some acid reflux. He didn't really seem to complain about anything acid refluxy, but did have constipation. So we definitely will want to take a look at bringing those levels down. The next section, commensal and keystone bacteria. Now, these are the good guys. These commensal bacteria are the ones that we know we need in our gut. They carry out certain activities. For instance, Akkermansia muciniphila, you'll see that third from the bottom right here. We know that this bacteria is actually responsible for eating away at the lining of the gut, the inside lining, the good lining. And by doing that, it's causing it to reproduce. So if we don't have that good Akkermansia in there, we know that the gut lining is going to be weak. Here you see that he has plenty. His Enterobacter is high. We would expect that because on the other page showing the dysbiotic bacteria, Enterobacter was high as well. Bacteriophila at the bottom, you'll see Firmicutes is low. We don't really pay too much attention unless we find the ratio is really out of whack. But here you can see that his ratio is intact. So that is the page talking about the good bacteria and the H. pylori. And here is the final page of the GI map test, talking about parasites at the top. I want to remind you that parasites don't really live in your poop. They're very hard to find and test for. There are very few good tests for parasites. One of my mentors says, this is the best test for a parasite. Take your 2 fingers, put it up to your pulse. If you feel a pulse, you have a parasite. We're all walking around with parasites, so I don't really pay attention so much. If something shows up here, we take a good look at it, but most people here are negative at the top. And then the intestinal health markers are really important. So this is telling me how your digestion is going down. His steatocrit levels are low. That's showing me not a lot of fat in the stool, meaning digestion is strong there. His elastase 1 number is nice and robust. I love to see it in the green. That means the digestive juices are doing what they need to do. Even though the H. pylori is probably tamping down that stomach acid, he's still doing a good job. Beta-glucuronidase is low. That's telling me about hormones. That's great. Occult blood, a tiny little bit. I don't really do much unless we see that in the red, and then that's a visit to your gastroenterologist. Secretory IgA is beautiful. I don't really see too many of these here in the green. I see a lot in the red on either side, meaning that your immune system is either in the toilet or revved up and like overgoing. So he's doing great here. Anti-gliadin IgA, said he does not eat a lot of gluten, just out of habit, and it shows because he's not reacting to it. Eosinophil activation protein, again talking about immune response, beautiful. And his levels of inflammation, I'd like to see them a little bit lower. He is 85, he does have some heart issues, but that's understandable. So that's his GI map test. And let's go back, let me find this page. Let's go back to this messy page and talk about what we're using here to squash these overgrowth and dysbiotic bacteria. So one of the products I love to use is by a company called Biocidin. They have a product line called the BioClear. It's a 30-day, give your microbiome a good clean out. When I see levels this high, it's generally about a 3-month treatment protocol, starting off really slowly and building up as we go. There are a few products in that line. The Biocidin is the product that has all of the antibacterial, antiviral herbs. It contains a binder. Whenever we are killing something in the body, remember, we use a binder to help to absorb those toxins and flush them out. I would also note, I would also be really working on his motility of his gut before I start to kill things. When you try to kill a lot of things in your body and you are not pooping on a daily basis, you wind up feeling horrible. So the first thing that we actually did was we worked with a daily motility agent, making sure that he was moving bowels regularly. And that takes a little time to find the right dose for you, but we did. And then we started with the Biocidin. And like I said, you have to titrate that. You start very slowly, you work your way up. And then you decide how many of the products in the BioClear program are important to be using for month 1, month 2, month 3. But really great product line to take care of all of these guys. I use some mastic gum. That's a really easy to get supplement. 2 caps twice a day, mastic gum to help bring those H. pylori levels down. I did use a little bit of, in the 3rd month, HCl and enzymes to try to rev up that stomach acid, knowing that we had taking care of the H. pylori and just looking for a little bit of better digestion from the top down. Also, a lot of focus on chewing his food, making sure he did a lot of, even though he's 85, he did a lot of eating on the run, standing up at the kitchen counter, driving in the car, going to appointments, etc., like eating a sandwich. And so when you are eating in a rush and you are not chewing your food properly, it's not getting macerated, it's not mixing with saliva, which is the beginning of your digestion, it makes it harder every step of the way, all the way down and out. So we took some good care to change a little bit about the way that he was eating. And so he did really well. So, a lot of my clients will not repeat this testing. It's expensive and they like to go on symptoms. I wish I had a second test on him to see how these numbers came down, because he did beautifully. His constipation was managed with a daily motility agent. That was no longer a problem for him. He was able to increase fiber in his diet without having any overgrowth or bloating. And these numbers came down over, I think, 3.5 months. I'm assuming they did because his symptoms went away. So if you are interested in testing your gut, I invite you to take the test at digestivediscovery.com. That's my website. In the back end of that, once you purchase the test, there's a whole back end educational portal where you will be able to understand a little bit more about the test and what we are looking for. It talks a lot about gut health, some diet and recipe ideas, all of that. So if you're looking to have this test done, don't need an expensive doctor's appointment. You just head to digestivediscovery.com and take the test for yourself. So thanks for being here today. Come back next Tuesday for Test Don't Guess Tuesday. I'm Melissa Hall-Klepacki. Thanks for being here.